Madam Presiding Member, I make that 10 o'clock.
Thank you, Chris. Bore da, croeso. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Council. The Council meeting is being broadcast live over the internet and will be available to view online now and in the future. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Members in the chamber, please be aware that we're all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. And please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. Members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please remember to keep your microphones muted when you're not talking. May I remind members that as per the statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask you all to please use your cameras for the duration of this meeting? Before moving on to the agenda, I would like, on behalf of the Council, to offer our deepest condolences to Councillor Mandy Owen on the recent loss of her mother. And also, our deepest condolences go out to the family and friends, a great friend of this Council and the communities of Torfaen, the Reverend Canon Harold Thomas. If we could stand to show our respect for Harold, who has been a past mayoral chaplain, and to many names. Thank you. Agenda item 1 is attendance. Democratic Services will be making a note of members' attendance in the meeting, but should you lose connection, could you possibly leave a comment in the chat bar on your return to ensure that this is picked up? Agenda item 2 is apologies for absence. Rachel, have we any apologies, please?
Yes, I've received apologies from Councillors Ron Burnett, Catherine Bonera, Richard Clark, Mandy Owen, Nicholas Simons and Nathan Young.
Thank you, Rachel. Are there any other members sending apologies from the floor?
Dana James and John James.
Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 3.
Apologies, I'm online. Did have my hand up. Just to let you know that Giles Davis has been temporarily locked out of his account. He is trying to get access.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Delyth Harris, Monitoring Officer and Assistant Chief Legal Officer. Have you any advice for members, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm not aware of any interest to declare, but it's the usual advice for members if you ask a question or enter into a debate about a specific matter on the agenda, then you can consider making a declaration if appropriate at that time. Thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Thank you, Delyth. Agenda item 4, confirmation of council meeting minutes of the 8th of the 4th, 2025. These start on page 5 of your agenda. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to these minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. Take those as approved, thank you. Agenda item 6. Agenda item 5, confirmation of minutes held on the 13th of the 5th, 2025, starting on page 25. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to these minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. Linda Clarkson. Councillor Clarkson, you have a...
Yeah, can I just point out that my name's been omitted from the attendance register, please?
Thank you, Councillor Clarkson. Apologies for that. Any other comments? Thank you. I'll take those as approved then. Agenda item 6, update on actions. Members, there are no updates on outstanding actions. Takes us to agenda item 7, receipt of petitions. We have one petition today. The petition is in relation to a request for the installation of a one-way system and speed controls on Old James Street in Blenavon. Councillor Horler, I believe you're the sponsor for this petition. Could you possibly speak to the petition, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I was given this petition several weeks ago about the residents that live in Old St James Street, and it states, Old James Street in Blenavon should be a safe place for residents where children can play and neighbours can walk and pets can live without constant fear. Instead, it has become a dangerous thoroughfare with vehicles constantly travelling at speeds, treating our residential area like a racetrack. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a daily threat to our safety and mind. The dangers that we face every day are high speeds of constant routes, the main routes of the town. We see relentless flow of traffic that much farther exceeding residential speeds, and this turns simple acts into crossing the street as a potential hazard. Tragedy has already struck. We have witnessed heartbreaking consequences of dangerous situations, beloved pets that have been hit and killed by speeding vehicles on our streets. Vehicles have been hit and written off. Each accident is painful and a reminder every time this tragedy escalates to human words. I have been given in receipt this morning some vet bills for a considerable amount of money for accidents that have happened to pets. Continues. The fear for our children and community, residents especially those with children, live in a constant anxiety. The thought of any child being struck as a speeding car is unbearable, yet very real. Fear for many of us, our streets should be fostered the community, not to fear. Our clear objectives for the solution prioritise safety now. We have underlined within this document, underlined residents, concerned citizens urge the local council to make immediate and decisive action to reclaim Old James Street for the residents. We specify for call for implementation of a one-way traffic system. This would significantly reduce the volume and complexity of the traffic flow, inherently calming speeds and making the street safer. 2, potentially the installation of speed control measures, and this could conclude speed lumps or proven traffic calming solutions designed to force the drivers to fix. In conclusion, these are not radical demands. They are sensible, proven solutions that clear a potential danger implementing these changes and transform Old James Street from hazardous cut-through back into a safe residential street where lives are prioritised over speed. Don't wait for a catastrophe, act now, protect our community, and every day that passes without an action, the increase of which is devastating action. We implore you to listen to our concerns and act proactively to safeguard the residents of Old James Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horler, and the members of Blenavon. Members, do you agree for the petition to be sent to the relevant executive member for them to consider, respond and report back? All those in favour, please. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you, Councillor Horler. That takes us to agenda item 8, public question time. There are no public questions this morning. Agenda item 9, the announcements from the leader and the Chief Executive. Leader, do you have any announcements, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. First of all, I'd like to echo the point you made about the passing of Reverend Canon Harold Thomas, MBE, who passed away. I know his funeral is taking place this Thursday at 1:30 p.m. at Holy Trinity Church in Pontnewid. As well as being a consort to many mayors over the years, Harold was a great friend to many of us in this chamber. Someone who did a lot of work locally with things like the cadets and other organisations too, and he'll be sadly missed. So I send the the best wishes and condolences of Council and to Harold's family. I'd also like to note the sad passing of Councillor Mandy Owen's mother last week. I'm answering Councillor Mandy Owen's questions in Council today. She's taken some time off to grieve, very understandably, and we all pass on our best wishes to Mandy and her family on the sad passing of her mother. Next, some happier news. At the recent Eston monitoring visit, Eston confirmed that Cumran High School have made significant progress and could be removed out of special measures. The school will now be working to consolidate these improvements and develop ongoing good performance and achievement. So I'd like to thank all the staff at the school for their hard work, the governors and also officers here who have been involved in that journey. It's been a long and difficult journey, but I'm pleased to see the sustained and sustainable improvements that have been made at the school and look forward to continuing to visit the school over the years to come. So well done to all the staff involved there. Next, the Council ensures food safety in Torvine through our public protection officers who provide advice, conduct inspections and ensure compliance. In 2004, the Food Standards Agency audited our service and we received the highest level of audit assurance for our Food Standards Service, making us currently the only council in Wales to achieve this. I'd like to congratulate the officers for their hard work in delivering these essential services. We were pleased to meet with the pupils of Carriglam, the Welsh Immersion Centre at Ysgol Panteg this morning, and they've told many of us the positive stories of how the centre has helped them. The unit helps pupils who want to transfer from English medium education, as well as those at Welsh medium primary schools who need additional support with the language. Carriglam is on a mission to promote the Welsh language education across Torvine, supporting the Welsh Government's targets. Since opening in 2023, the programme supported over 60 children on their Welsh language journey, and for the first time is now operating at full capacity, with all 12 available places filled. I'd like to thank them all for their hard work, and now like to welcome the head teacher of Ysgol Panteg and Carriglam, Dr Matthew Williamson-Dickin, to give a presentation to Council.
Thank you very much. Bore da, thank you very much for inviting us this morning. The majority of the presentation this morning will be in English. However, I will all slides are in Welsh as well as English, and I will be willing to answer questions in Welsh and translate for members as well. It's not just me, so thank you very much for the welcome, but I've also brought the leader who leads this service on a day-to-day basis, Cara Soper, and we will do a tag team this morning so you get to know a little bit more and you don't hear my voice too much. So, first of all, Carriglam, as the leader explained, is a setting within the Welsh language schools of Torvine, and it's an additional support given for building a brighter bilingual future. That is our mission, and that's why we put this on our first slide this morning. It is about giving opportunities to children so that they have the right to experience and learn through the Welsh language. So, the Welsh Language Centre supports children between the ages of 7 and 11, and we do this in two different bases. We look at supporting children who want to transfer from English medium schools, because previous to this support, children had the right to do so, but would be simply placed in a class with additional intervention, which wasn't proving satisfactory. So this centre has come about with that need in mind. It has also come about with the need that there was a significant drop of numbers going to secondary and a dropout rate of going to secondary Welsh language. So this centre supports two functions, those wishing to move into Welsh language and supporting children with a confidence, so that when they are in Welsh language schools, they feel confident enough to go on to this secondary school and learn through the medium of Welsh until, lifelong learners, until they go on to university, etc. as well. The children are generally in the centre for 12 weeks, and what we look at are 4 different things. I'm not going to read this all to you because you will have the presentation afterwards, but it is looking at the teaching and language of our unit and make sure our vision is that we're providing the best support to children transferring and not dropping out of Welsh language. It is about that learning environment, and I was speaking to members this morning. The word immersion is the key word here. I'm sure that many of you, if you have been abroad to a country such as Spain or France, when you're there, you seem to pick up language more than you would normally do so if you were just learning from a textbook. That immersion is key. So that environment of being placed in a Welsh language environment where all around you is Welsh supports your learning. So it's partly of that. Our curriculum idea and our function is to provide children with the ability to access the full Welsh curriculum. So up until this point, until we had this unit formed, what happened was children were being placed in classes and without the relevant support. Now we know that children are meeting the curriculum, able to access the curriculum through the medium of Welsh. And we have a number of them here today who have come along, and they've been meeting with members already, and I'm sure they'll be willing to say hello to you afterwards as well. The final thing is that moving from one language to another is a real key development, and it's a choice. And let me tell you, parents are brave, because it is a choice to provide this, and it's a risk. However, we look at our 4th area of support as supporting children's well-being in their support. It's not just about their academic ability. We have children who have been additional learning needs, those who are more able and talented, and we have everything in between. Those who have experienced significant loss in their family life and those who have had significant support from children's services. So we have seen a huge variety. So we are looking at being innovative, having these excellent outcomes, also celebrating the identity of being Welsh. We are looking at being inclusive and using the most up-to-date technology for our teaching methods. We are looking at the idea of being able to be agile and adapt, and we've already done that, and Carys will talk to you a little bit about how we have 2 programmes now running to support learners, responding to the need that we're seeing within Torfaen, to make sure that is fit for purpose, and then making sure that we are in partnership, not just within Torfaen, but we are working in partnership with the Welsh Government, with Swansea University, with Rhondda Cynon Taf, and also other Welsh language units around the country. That pastoral provision, as I've mentioned, is key. And there's some real fantastic ideas that we've been pioneering to do with the CEFR, which is an international framework for learning language, as well as more subtle programmes such as Lego therapy support for some of our children, which we found has a huge impact on learning language and providing that appropriate support. There's a delay then. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you. So I'll briefly just describe how the immersion programme works in the 3 simple steps. So step 1 is that the children come to myself and my teaching assistant, Ms Stokes, and they spend time with us for 12 weeks in the programme, and that's taught through 10 themes that are relevant to the environments that they may be able to experience beyond the school walls. For example, the park, the cafe, doctor's surgery, animals, etc. So when they're with us for that 12-week programme, they learn through a series of 10 themes. And what the funding from Welsh Government and Torfaen allows us to do is then take these children on school trips to the park and to the cafe to use the language they've learnt with us within the 4 walls of the school out into the public. And that's been significant in our 12-week programme, that the children understand the value and the purpose of the language. So when they're with us for step 1, that's a 12-week programme, they're in for 5 days a week. Step 2 then is when they finished with us, we're lucky that we get to continue working with them beyond the 12-week programme with us in the building. Myself or Ms Stokes go out to visit them in their host schools, and we continue to offer peripatetic sessions there, which we're currently working with some of the children who are back there at the moment still. So we do that for 12 weeks following their time with us at Carreg Lam. And then step 3 is simply that the staff who are now working with the children full-time, following their time with us at Carraglam, feel confident and being able to continue to support them using strategies of language acquisition that work well with us in our centre as well. So briefly, we have the immersion programme. The language are available on our website. Parents are able to access this language at any time. It gives them an idea of how intense the language is. It is a very intense 12-week programme. We like to cover all of our bases and we have very high expectations. And that booklet then is given to parents, and the language, again, is explained through the themes, the sort of language patterns and the words that children might be learning as well. Every week, then, we write a bulletin, if you like, called Yr Wythnos Dan Ffocws, which is the week in focus, and we like to share with the parents the key language patterns, some philosophies behind the Welsh language, and also share what the children have been doing and learning about that week. So generally, they may have been on a trip or they've been cooking, etc., and then children can access and share those moments with parents and with family members at home.
You might be wondering where the name Carraglam comes from and its logo. It means stepping stone. And that's what we look at as our unit as being a stepping stone. And the leader mentioned that we'd had a number of children. I did this PowerPoint a little bit a while ago to send in. And we're now at 76 members who have been supported throughout Torfaen. That means each cohort has a significant number, and we are full at present. And we are looking to be full in September too. The levels of satisfaction and the impact is really important. I could come here and tell you today, that we're doing all of this good stuff, but what's the impact of it? We see huge levels of impact with children's academic ability through the medium of Welsh, meaning that when they are accessing their classes, they are generally accessing the same ability that other children who haven't been in mainstream setting from the start are accessing. That is a significant change to how it was before. Parents, these are questions I'm going to send it to you because I realise it's very small, but just as a viewing point for you, we measure the impact of every cohort, and we measure the parent satisfaction for every cohort, and it is consistently, over these 2 slides, very, very positive in the high expectation. We use ESTIN questionnaires to support us do that as well, and we are probably going to be waiting a visit from them any moment. The impact comes in that quantitative method, but also in qualitative method. And if you were to ask some of the parents who have been here, I know we have one grandparent in the room at the moment who has experienced Carraglam, the difference it provides children, the passion to learn language, but also the fact that they are stating that they never thought this was possible for their child. That Torfaen is now able to provide a service to allow equity and equality for our children so that they are experiencing the Welsh language throughout their learning career. The level of communication is what they support and they see as key in the element because they know what it's going. I mentioned how much of a fear or a risk it might feel, but they know they're in safe hands. And every year we look at our newest development points and we produce and it's governed, our governing body from Ysgol Pantig supports the Carraglam governing, and we look at a centre development plan every single year. This year, we have been looking at building the awareness of language acquisition education. That's one reason we're here today. But also within the Welsh schools themselves, supporting and sharing and training mainstream staff so they are ready to accept our pupils back. Looking at improving that peripatetic support that we give, as well as marketing. And if you haven't seen on Friday on Torfaen pages, on social media, you will have seen the new marketing video that has gone out to show parents what the opportunities are for their children. The second thing we've been looking at this year is looking at the language polishing provision, and this is where our second programme comes in. At the moment, we have a series of 12 children, each across this term, so we have 3 sets of them, where we are producing a programme to support children to step into secondary positively and with the right amount of support that they require, refining those pedagogical methods, conducting research-based pilots so that we can provide secondary school, Gwynllew, with the support that they need so that children are getting this. So we have got currently children from Brinonen at our school who are learning through experiential, hands-on, kinesthetic learning the language so that they feel confident enough to apply for Welsh language education when they reach year 6 in September. Now over to Caris.
Yes, so the programme is called, as Dr Singh said, Camau'r Uwch Step into Secondary, and we use the same language strategies which works effectively in our 12-week programme. It's a 2-week programme intense again. We're able to provide them another school trip, and we do this through hands-on learning as well. So the strategies that worked effectively, that children taking part in their learning, children being able to repeat and use the language again. And what we then work on is improving their use of language, their grammar, and then transferring that from their spoken language onto paper. And what we've noticed is, from our first cohort and into our second, is that they're really enjoying having the opportunity to experiment with the language, and they're feeling confident and able then to access the curriculum and use their new written skills once they transition back into the classroom. It's only a 2-week programme, but that 2-week programme so far has proven to be extremely effective. We're engaging children who perhaps weren't particularly keen on writing in the past, and children who now have a newfound confidence just to give it a go. And what we're hoping is that transitioning into year 6, they will take on that new level of confidence with their writing skills.
So we've had a number of pilot programmes refining the process, and now we're at a point where we're seeing a measure of children's success and their confidence with the language shooting up. I'm not going to go through the slide, but you can see from the orange there, which is our colour, you'll notice, if there's a huge improvement in their confidence of language. We're getting to the end of the presentation now, but I want to just cover something called the CAFRED, which is an international framework for language, which we are utilising. We're working with Welsh Government to support with the new Welsh language bill that is being put in place. You will know as members that this is an incredibly important Welsh education bill that is coming into place, and it's a departure a little bit from what's happened previously. Part of this is being able to assess and measure the level of confidence and fluency our children have, and adults as well, and utilising the CAFRED, which is the Common Framework for Reference of Language, to do that. We've been supporting children and looking at how we can utilise this method. If any of you have learned Welsh as an adult, you will use perhaps the Canolradd, Mynediad, Uwch levels, all based on this CAFRED programme. We've been working in partnership with the Lycée International Londres de Vincent Churchill in London, who are a French language school, because like us, they have significant challenges in supporting children with a different language to the one that is spoken around them. I often describe our schools within Wales, our Welsh language schools, as little islands of Welsh in a sea of English. And it's about providing that tool. And so Lycée International in Wembley are a French school who have a very similar issue. They are an island of French in a sea of English. So we've worked with them to develop that sort of methodology of assessing baseline and exit criteria for our centre. The really important part about this is working with Rhondda Cynon Taf and Swansea University and the Welsh Government. We are working to develop language. So we've developed from these initial steps you will see on the side here, further to more steps, because there's huge jumps between the different levels. This is meaning that we are now working with teachers from across all of Wales to come up with language patterns, vocabulary sets that fit the different levels of fluency, so that when authors and when resources are created, they match what the children need. Generally until now, and it's 2025, and we've got to say this, most of our resources are literal translations of English. So it comes down to Welsh language teachers and people like Caris and Megan in the centre to create bespoke support, maturity, development resources. I've spoken about Carreg Lamb's partnership with Winston Churchill School. However, there is a link there should you wish to read the whole report on our partnership. Now, there are a couple of case studies I'm not going to read through with you today, but if you go to our website, you will find case studies of how across all Welsh schools within Torfaen support has been offered to pupils. I've got a short video I'd like to show you now, which is out of the mouth of one of our constituents, which is one of the mothers, and it's Fion's mum who's here today. I'm hoping this is going to work. If it doesn't, we will send this round as well. Thank you.
I wanted Fion to go into the Welsh language because her cousins were in Ysgol Breonin at the time. Also, as we're in Wales, we're very passionate about Welsh language and also the prospects later on in life. You know, there's more career opportunities if they able to speak Welsh. Fion missed out a lot of her early days at Ysgol Breonin due to the pandemic, so she was and struggled with her Welsh language. They offered support, but unfortunately she still didn't and struggled with it. So she referred to Caerglam in September. Caerglam taught us through lots of different themes, and throughout those themes they went on to trips where real life experiences were made for her, which Fion then picked the Welsh language up quicker because it was exciting. You know, Miss Saul could give her lots of support, you know, so she felt comfortable and gaining her confidence then, you know, to be able to learn new skills, learn new strategies, have that intervention with the Welsh language and put it into practice. Fion's gone back into Ysgol Breonin and she's doing really, really well. She's happy, she's flourishing, full of confidence. Very sassy as a little girl, and I've noticed that in school and outside in school. At home she's a different child, she's talking a lot more and putting the Welsh into practice as well.
It's a great advocate when parents speak because it's out of the mouths. You can listen to me all day, but listen to actual constituents telling you this is the impact it's having on my child is fantastic. The last thing I want to talk about today is a really exciting project.
To go into the Welsh.
As well on the next slide. We are really lucky to have the opportunity to be partnering with a number of schools and institutions in Tokyo. The same sort of reason that we have our partnership with the French school. You know, islands of English in a sea of Japanese is what we're looking at in this scenario. And we have a delegation going out in October from the centre, which is a cross-section of council members, council employees, teachers, staff from the centre, as well as other schools. What's been really important about this as well is that the development of these international partnerships, we are learning from each other very well. So when we look at things like Tokyo, their pedagogy and their method of instruction is very, very different. And we've been lucky enough to be awarded a grant from Welsh Government through the TIFE initiative to be going out for that period. And that we'll be looking at, and this is the last slide, we'll be looking at how we can improve our Torfaen primary immersion teaching practices further by looking at the way that Japanese is taught to children who do not speak Japanese or children who don't speak English as a first language. We'll be looking at what the most effective language acquisition techniques are within the education system. We're looking at the cultural integration. Caris mentioned a lot about the trips. They're not just a jolly. They are learning language in a real-life, authentic setting. And we're looking at how their language development acquisition supports. We're also looking at the training and professional development practices of teachers and staff within Tokyo, and looking at the broader policy frameworks that govern language primary immersion, as well as how we evaluate and how they inspect. And we'll be feeding all this information back to Welsh Government as part of a programme to support the development of Welsh education. So that's the end of our presentation this morning. I hope you found it useful and found it slightly different this morning. And I'm ready to take questions through the chair.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Any questions? Peter?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. I'd like to thank the two speakers for a marvellous presentation, very impressive. And later in this report, we're going to be looking at our annual monitoring report for the Welsh language, what a great example of what Torfaen is doing to promote the Welsh language. So, well done.
Thank you. Leader?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, I guess I should say, Diolch, for the presentation. It's great, really, to see how your dedication to our young people and to your work shines through in what you've both said to us this morning. Because I guess at the end of the day, this is about our young people. I think there's lots of best practice you talk about, not just in the benefits of bilingualism and building children's confidence, but also that transition between primary and secondary schools, which we have across Welsh and English medium schools struggled with over the years. That wish to keep kids going on, learning as much as we can, and not to suffer sort of in the transition between, going from quite a small primary school often to a much bigger secondary school. So that focus on well-being, I think, is something that is of interest, I think, to all of our schools, and it's good to see that best practice. It's also good to see the focus on research, learning from what works, and then amending what we do to learn from that. I think the sharing of practice across different places is great in that respect, especially talking about language, because it's something that's universal. The examples in France and Japan are really good. I guess the other question I want to ask was about the importance of immersion and families. Because I guess one of the challenges for you is we're quite a low percentage Welsh-speaking area. And so how do we make sure that children can use the Welsh language outside of a school setting? How do we build the confidence not just of the children? And I say this as someone who's tried to learn Welsh as an adult and finds it difficult because there's not a great number of people to talk to on a day-to-day basis. I guess the question is, how do we sort of build that confidence amongst parents as well as amongst the children to help that the children go further in the Welsh language? And just to note, I've got family members who've seen huge benefits from bilingualism, not just from being able to speak two languages, but from the benefits it's given young minds and how they can think differently, and they've taken that into their adult lives too. So thank you for the presentation. I really welcome not just the content of the presentation, but the dedicated and passionate approach that you take to your work.
Would you like me to respond to the outer hours one? Yeah. So what's really important within Torfaen, we know we have a low percentage of Welsh home speaker. And if we were to do a cold desk-based research to know how many of our parents speak Welsh, cold, about 2% of my parents at Ysgol Panteg do. However, I know that's not an accurate reflection because I went to school with them. So I am a Torfaen child. I went through, my parents don't speak Welsh at all, went through language, school, Ysgol Gymraeg Cwmbran, and then went on to Gwynlliw and supported. So I've come through that process myself. I think what's really important is the opportunities to build confidence. Because if I speak to half of my parents who I know can speak Welsh, it's about building that confidence so they know that they can use it. And also, we have this, within our centre and our school, we have this term that we say, which is Cymraeg slack and Western Saesneg slick. So we say, don't worry about using a bit of slack language. Give it a go, give it a try. Nobody's going to be snobbish with you about if you get a mutation wrong. Give it a go. And I think working in partnership with things like Mentor Iaith, having those community-focused schools is incredibly important because that brings parents and family members in. Schools such as ours in Torfaen also provide additional support to families, especially in nursery. So we have these sessions like Learn Welsh with Your Children. So we'll have the teacher and the child and the parent come to school in the hall and they have basic language sessions. And it's about promoting those types of initiatives, I think, at this stage to really support those children and as they leave school, signposting them to where the Welsh opportunities are.
Thank you. Can I just take a chair's prerogative? And one of the early school visits that the Education Committee did was down to Ysgol Panteg, and we actually experienced the Carriglan experience. So can I congratulate you on the exceptional work that you're doing down there? and it was a real pleasure to see the children working in and immersing themselves in Welsh. I got one final speaker, Councillor Janet Jones. Apologies, the microphone's off, Janet.
I heard it, but I don't know if you need it for the cameras.
Yes, I think so. Could you repeat it, please, Councillor Jones?
Sorry for the confusion. Thank you for your presentation. I'm really pleased that there is an increase in the number of children going from English into Welsh. But I also share Councillor Hunt's concerns, because I started to do a Welsh course and there's no support for adults. So if there's opportunities such as Carriglam Cape for adults, I'm sure quite a few people would take it up. Thank you.
Can I thank you both for your presentation this morning? Thank you very much. And thank you, the children of Carriglam, for coming in and visit us and banging my gavel. Thank you very much. Shall we give them a round of applause? Thank you, Leader. Did you have anything else to report? No. Chief Executive, do you have any announcements?
Nothing to add, thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 10, which is the annual report of the Ethics and Standards Committee, which commences on page 39 of your agenda. Mr. Rodriguez, Chair of the Ethics and Standards Committee, can I ask you to deliver your report, please? Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Councillors and colleagues. My name is Rodriguez, for those who don't know me, and I'm Chair of the Ethics and Standards Committee. I'm here presenting the 24-25 annual report, which is my third as Chair. Just as background, there are 8 people on the committee. 3 are county councillors, 1 community councillor, and 4 lay people like myself. Primary functions include promoting and maintaining high standards, determining any breach or alleged breaches of the Code of Conduct, and granting dispensations prohibited by the Code of Conduct, the most obvious being small members' donation schemes. General rule, we have 2 meetings a year, September and February, and then we have additional meetings as and when needed. We had 4 meetings this year. We had 91% attendance at these meetings, and the 2 instances where the members couldn't attend is because they were chairing other meetings. We dealt with 3 complaints. We received 3 complaints under the local resolution protocol this year. 2 were related to social media posts, and the committee met and held the hearings and determined that no further action was necessary. Another one involved comments made in a public meeting, but that did not go to hearing. The hearings are all confidential, so that's all I'm going to say about them. Pleasingly, there was no ombudsman referrals to the committee within the year. The last few years, we've been meeting with the political group leaders in terms of encouraging that good conduct amongst councillors. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to for the input. Every year they fill in a template, and then they come to us, and we get to question them about what they're doing to ensure positive behaviour. And the committee was reassured with the approach, and so there's a thank you from the committee on that. However, the meetings have again highlighted the issue around social media abuse towards councillors. From people trolling them. So you should all have received the WLGA guidance on how to deal with online abuse to hopefully support you if you do experience that. Every year we are to review and comment on attendance of meetings. I was pleased to say that attendance of full council remains high. There are some committees that experience inconsistent attendance, and we're currently liaising with the Democratic Services Committee about how we could support any initiatives to help that. I would like to thank the Democratic Services team in terms of there was a new reporting structure this year on the members' attendance at our request, and it was really helpful. So the committee's thanks on that. We deal with a lot of dispensations, which is obviously where there could be a perceived potential conflict of interests in terms of members using small grant donations within their community. And I'm really pleased to say that during the year we approved 31 of these, which obviously allows members to make those donations within their communities to benefit their residents. And the final thing I wanted to highlight was training. As a result of our work, the monitoring officer held code of conduct refresher training in October. There was 2 sessions held. I supported it and was here. Thank you for the people who attended. I hope it was beneficial and you got what you needed from it. And the monitor officer also ran training on the Council's constitution in February, again as a result of our conversations within the committee and recommendations. That's a whistle-stop tour of the last year. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Guest. Any questions for Rodri? No.
Well, thanks, Chair.
The recommendations are on page 40 of the report at 6.1, and the recommendation is the Council receives and notes the annual report of the Ethics and Standards Committee as set out in Appendix 1. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That report is noted. That takes us to agenda item 11, the revisions to the contract procedure rules on page 45. Jason Lewis, Director, Corporate Services and Head of Democratic Services. Could you deliver the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Good morning, members. Our current contract procedure rules, which are presently known as contract standing orders, are described in Appendix 16 of our Constitution. They provide the framework by which the Council procures all goods, services and works. Their purpose is to ensure that the Council obtains value for money and conducts its procurement activity openly and transparently. They ensure that we are compliant with all legislation relating to procurement. They support our achievement of the 7 Future Generations Act wellbeing goals and, when followed, protect members and officers of the Council from any allegation of acting unfairly or unlawfully in connection with any procurement by the Council. The contract procedure rules have needed revisions to align to the new legislation referred to in this report at paragraph 2.1. The updated rules provide guidance on the transparency requirements under the new legislation and introduce amendments to the thresholds, procedures and procurement routes for quotations and tenders. The revised contract procedure rules have been developed in collaboration and consultation with the Council's Head of Legal Services, Head of Internal Audit, the Council's Strategic Procurement Lead, and the Head of Procurement and her team at our procurement partners, Ardal. The Council's executive team have also been consulted on the revisions. There has been a series of online briefings with officers across the Council to raise awareness of the new legislation and requirements. The revisions to the contract procedure rules include amended procurement thresholds and procurement routes to comply with legislation and to standardised process across Ardal partners. They also align tender thresholds with councils across Wales, which will provide consistency to our suppliers and contractors. To ensure that the Council has a strong audit trail of activity throughout the procurement process, a new set of digital forms has been introduced alongside the revised contract procedure rules. These forms will introduce greater consistency of procurement practice, as well as better management information and improved assurance. Subject to the Council's approval of the revisions, the changes will be publicised and further training and guidance will be delivered. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any members wishing to comment? The recommendations are on page 46 of the report at point 51 and point 52. By one reads, to approve the revised contract procedure rules for implementation, and 5.2 that the monitoring officer be given delegated authority to add the revised contract procedure rules to the Constitution. All those in favour, please? Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much, Jason. That takes us to agenda item 12, the changes to the Scrutiny Committee portfolios, which start on page 75 of your agenda. Tom Roberts, Business and Democratic Support Services Manager. Could you deliver this report, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member, and good morning, members. As set out in the report, our existing scrutiny portfolios were amended and adopted by Council following review in April 2024. The review that took place represented a significant change to our scrutiny committees, reorganising portfolios to broadly align with the Council's strategic leadership, aimed at creating clearer lines of accountability for each scrutiny committee, whilst further strengthening the Council's golden thread. Recent changes to responsibilities of heads of service means that the alignment between the directorates and scrutiny committees is not as defined as it was. The current report therefore represents a proposal to realign the portfolios of the Council scrutiny committees to the Council's directorates based on this same rationale. The proposed changes would therefore move the relevant functions set out in 4.1 of the report from the Adults Communities portfolio into the Economy and Environment Scrutiny Committee, re-establishing these clear lines of accountability. The proposal maintains membership of each committee at 9 members, with the Cross-Cutting Resources and Business Committee continuing to consist of all non-executive members. If proposals are endorsed by Council today, relevant changes will be made to the Constitution, revising the Council Scrutiny Committee portfolio to the forthcoming visioning process and the 25-26 municipal year. I'll hand back to the Chair at that point, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom on this report? No. The recommendations are on page 76 of the report at 8.1. And the recommentions are that the Council approves the changes to the Scrutiny Committee portfolio as set out in Appendix 1 of this report and delegates authority to the monitoring officer in the constitution with the members' constitution, on the consultation with the members' constitution working party to make the changes required for the Council's constitution. All those in favour, please? Anyone against? Any abstentions? That report is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Agenda item 13, which is the Welsh Language Annual Monitoring Report 24-25, which starts on page 81 of your agenda. Alan Vernon-Jones, the Welsh Language Officer, can you deliver this report for us, please?
Bore da, members, and thank you, Presiding Member. I'm here this morning to present to you the Welsh Language Standards Annual Report for 2024-2025. A requirement under the Welsh Language Wales Measure 2011. There are 5 statutory elements that must be included within the report, and I'll give you a briefing on each heading. Firstly, there's compliance. The Council continues to provide Welsh language services to our residents in a proportionate and reasonable manner. Providing face-to-face services continues to be difficult due to the location of our Welsh speakers, but we hope that the enhancements made in our recruitment will address some of this. With AI, artificial intelligence, within interpretation and translation becoming more widespread, the team has embraced the use of technology over the past year, increasing our translation capacity by 24% from the previous year. We are also fully utilising our translation memory software. But a word of caution to those using AI as a translation tool, everything needs to be proofread by a competent Welsh speaker. Secondly, complaints. There were no complaints received by the Council during the period of the report and no new investigations by the Welsh Language Commissioner. We did have a number of recommendations from the 2 ongoing investigations and have amended our training and internal procedures accordingly. Both these investigations have now been closed. 3 is Welsh language skills. We heard Matthew talk there about the CEFR, the CEFR framework. During 2024-25, the Council moved from the ALTE, which is the Association of Language Testers in Europe framework for recording language skills, to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, the CEFR for short, bringing us in line with other local authorities, Welsh Government and the Centre of Learning Welsh. This has meant that the data within the report is only a few months old. Only 15% of our staff have completed the information so far, but despite this, you will see that we have identified 33 members of staff who are proficient and on the higher scales of the CEFR framework and willing to assist with Welsh language queries. We have reminded staff to complete their skills on IVA. I would also like to encourage members to fill in their language skills if they have not already done so. Number 4 is Welsh language training. We must provide basic Welsh language training to our staff as part of the Welsh language standards. 21 individuals completed the course between April 24 and March 2025. We have developed integrated impact assessment training for staff on the Thinky platform in order for them to assess policy decisions made by this Council and their effects on the Welsh language, and we aim to develop more online training in the year ahead. And lastly, recruitment. 112 of the 718 jobs advertised required some Welsh language skills. This is an increase of 5% on the previous year. In order to encourage candidates to use the Welsh language they have learnt in school or in classes, we now ask for the Welsh language desirable as a minimum for our advertised posts. This has not discouraged candidates and has meant that the Council can comply with the standards in a more holistic way. This report must be published on our website by the 30th of June 2025 and made available at each of our offices. I am happy to take any questions. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Alan. I'd like to bring in Councillor Peter Jones, please.
Diolch, Alan, for presenting the annual monitoring report for 2024-25. As Alan says, the report lists statutory data that we need to publish as part of our compliance with the Welsh language standards. There are many activities happening throughout the year to promote our Welsh language services and culture, and we had a marvellous example of that earlier in this meeting. I see from the report that we are actively recruiting and training more Welsh speakers within our workforce, helping to deliver Welsh language services where it is needed. We have increased the number of jobs requiring Welsh skills to over 15% in this report, an increase of 5% on the previous year. Of those who have completed their language skills, as Alan pointed out, we have 33 Welsh speakers across all 5 directorates. And as Alan said, I would also like to encourage members and staff to complete their Welsh language skills on IVA if they have not already done so. The Adults and Communities Directorate have worked hard to increase the Welsh language offer in a reasonable and proportionate manner, working with our digital teams to find innovative ways to increase capacity and retain accuracy and consistency within current resources. We have a Welsh language team we can be proud of here in Torfaen, offering advice and high-quality translations across the Council and to our partners, and I'm particularly grateful for all the work that Alan does. Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Anthony, leader, please.
No, I'd just like to associate myself with those thanks as well from Peter. Thank you, Alan, for your leadership. Also, thank you to one of the things you pointed out, our staff, for their flexibility in coming forward and helping us deliver these duties. Not only does that make us better and make us more responsive, but it also, of course, saves money, and it's an example of our staff going above and beyond the call of duty to try and help the Council out. So a big thank you to all of those who have helped me personally when I've needed assistance, as well as the Council as a whole.
Thank you very much. Any other further comments? I've lost Councillor Haynes on screen, so I'm taking you to the vote now, which is the recommendations are on page 82 of the report at 11.1. The recommendation is that the annual report 24-25 is approved and publicised in line with Welsh language standards. All those in favour, please. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much, Anna. That takes us to agenda item 14, motions on notice. Motion 1, Councillor Jane Watkins, can you move and explain your motion for us, please, as shown on page 103 of the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. So the motion reads, on the devolution of the Crown Estate. This Council notes the Crown Estate controls vast areas of Welsh land and sea, including 65% of the foreshore and riverbed and over 50,000 acres of land. While it profits from offshore wind and other developments in Wales, up to 75% of its revenue goes directly to the UK Treasury, leaving Wales with no say over how its resources are used. The value of Crown Estate holdings in Wales has risen from £96 million in 2020 to over £853 million in 2023. Scotland secured control of its Crown Estate in 2016, and the Scottish Government block grant was consequently reduced accordingly. A YouGov poll taken in spring 2023 showed that 75% of Welsh voters were in favour of Wales taking control of the management and assets of the Welsh Crown Estate, rather than it remaining in the hands of the UK Treasury. This Council believes in the principle of subsidiarity, with decision-making and control held at the closest possible level to citizens. If the subsidiarity principle applies in the case of the Crown Estates, the devolution of Crown Estate assets to Wales should include substantial devolution of onshore assets to the local government. This Council also wishes to understand more fully the implications of devolution of the Crown Estate on the Welsh block grant. Therefore, this Council resolves to ask the Leader to write to the UK and Welsh Governments to set out our belief in the principles above and seeking clarity in relation to the possible implications for the Welsh block grant and investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Can I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you. That's seconded. I'll ask members if they wish to ask any questions or debate this. No? Oh, sorry. Councillor Alan Slade.
Well, it says in there that the block grant to Scotland was reduced accordingly. What are the advantages of this then?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Well, the question is, I mean, in Scotland, the block grant was reduced accordingly, which presumably means you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, to me. So what advantage is it?
Leader, can you answer that? No, I can't.
I mean, I guess the advantage of it would be if the value of it increases, then it would be a benefit to Wales. And also the principle of subsidiarity is mentioned in the, I can never say the word properly, the principle of subsidiarity is mentioned within the thing, which is, you know, the principle that the power should be controlled as close to the origins as possible. So that would be the two key benefits for me. But it is a valid question because I have seen this described elsewhere as being the solution to all deals of public service funding. And unfortunately, because of the recalculation that happened, it's unlikely to have a big net benefit. But I still believe it's, on balance, the right thing to do generally.
Councillor Watkins, do you wish to have a right of reply?
No, only to say that I think Anthony's explained it very well. It is two parts. So basically, yeah, the decision about the money made in Wales will be decided by the Welsh people or by a level of government closer to the Welsh people.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Councillor Jason O'Connell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I just clarify, if we vote for a motion of support on this, will anything actually change, or is it just a symbolic gesture?
I can't answer for the Welsh Government or the National Government. Anthony, I don't know whether you want to comment on that.
I guess the motion is directed at me, so what would change is that I would lobby the UK and Welsh governments. I can't promise that they'll necessarily listen to me, but you know that's the resolution of the motion, and would be to write that letter. So no, nothing would necessarily change because of this. It's a fair point, but it would just be result in us lobbying in that way for this to take place.
Thank you. Councillor Slade, you wish to come in again?
Just a quick one. Hasn't the Welsh Labour government in Westminster already said that they're not going to do this?
I think they called for it, actually. I think they called for it, and then it was Welsh government called for it. UK government at the time were Conservative. They denied it. We have a new government in UK, so there's a considerable chance of changing that.
Okay, I just thought the new government had rejected it. Sorry.
Anthony?
It's fair to say they haven't accepted it yet. Whether they will or not, I guess, we'll see what the response is.
Councillor Fiona Cross.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's also the fact that all the other councils in Wales have voted to support this. But it's not a reason to necessarily, but we're the only outlier, and now we're we could be one voice of more strength to be able to push that forward.
Councillor Dave Williams.
Sorry, Chair. Councillor Cross has made a similar point to myself, so I don't repeat it.
And Councillor Sue Morgan.
I think perhaps even more pertinent is the percentage of the Welsh people that the YouGov poll indicates we're in favour at 75%. I think it's a fairly strong argument for listening.
Okay, I don't see any other wishing to speak. Oh, sorry. Councillor Daniels.
I sense an animosity to it. Before we... I'm going to support it, that's fine. I was just going to ask for your reasons if you weren't going to vote for it, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Councillor Haller.
Madam Spending Officer, could we have a recorded vote on this motion, please?
I have 6 members to join you in requesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we have that. Thank you very much. Chris, will you take us through the recorded vote, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. We'll start with Councillor Ashley.
Here we go. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Best, I don't believe is on. Councillor Byrne. 4. Councillor Clarkson.
4.
Councillor Cowles.
4.
Councillor Cross.
4.
Councillor Daniels. 4. Sorry. Thank you. Councillor Giles Davis. I think we've lost him online. Councillor Stephen Evans. 4. Councillor Joe Gordon.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Carl Gordon.
4.
I think we've lost Councillor Haynes. Okay. Councillor Nick Haller.
4.
Councillor John Haller.
4.
Councillor Hunt.
4.
Councillor Janet Jones.
4.
Councillor Mark Jones.
4.
Councillor Peter Jones. 4. Councillor Keat. 4. Councillor Matthews.
4.
Councillor Morgan.
4.
Councillor O'Connell.
4.
Councillor Parish.
4.
Councillor Price.
4.
Councillor Seaborn.
4.
Councillor Simons. 4. Councillor Slade.
4.
Councillor Chew. 4. Councillor Thomas. Claire Thomas, sorry.
4.
Councillor David Thomas. 4. Councillor Jane Watkins.
4.
Councillor David Williams. 4. Councillor Lucy Williams.
4.
Thank you, members. That's unanimous with 30 votes.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, members. Takes us to motion 2, which is Councillor Nick Byrne. Can you move and explain your motion for us, please, as shown on page 105 of the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. This motion is towards trading standards, awareness and spreading best practice. The Council notes that road traders offering services such as roofing, driveways, gardening, typically provide low estimates, and once work has started, they have vastly increased the price of the job. Do not complete the job or complete it to a substandard quality. Work can be extremely poor quality, and then they provide false contact information and can be difficult to trace. That the impact on people impacted by these traders can be profound, losing them money, leaving them with unfinished or substandard work or products, and impacting their self-confidence. Their efforts to clamp down on road traders also benefits reputable businesses, enabling them to preventing them to undercut for jobs by those not operating fairly. This Council therefore resolves to raise awareness and promote advice to help protect residents, especially the most vulnerable in our communities, who are at greater risk of falling victim to road traders. Council also resolves to keep aware of best practice elsewhere in dealing with road traders. Residents can report traders to our trading standards, serviced by the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline on 0808 223 1133, who will provide appropriate advice on how to deal with their complaint. If they so choose, potential scams and work they are dissatisfied with or is not carried out at all can be reported anonymously. All complaints reported to Citizens Advice Helpline are reviewed by Trading Standards. Officers will assess the information to determine whether a breach of Trading Standards law is likely to have occurred and to decide whether to investigate. When investigation is deemed to be not appropriate, advice may be provided to the resident by helping them to obtain redress. Investigations are carried out by officers into cases of malpractice, including road traders, scams and doorstep crime. They may involve working with partner organisations, including other local authorities and the police.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Byrne's motion, please? Thank you. That's second. Can I ask members if they wish to debate? Any questions, any comments?
I will firstly say and support that, in particular, looking at areas, in particular roofing, because it's very difficult to check if somebody's done a job on your roof unless you want to climb up yourself. Drivers and gardens are a little bit different. So whatever we can do to protect our residents, particularly, I go this again, from roofers in particular, because that's an area where our residents would be at risk, as I said before, unless they fancy climbing up ladders and have a look themselves.
Thank you very much. Any other further comments? Councillor Stuart Ashley.
Yes, I'm as a former care repair officer. I would also thank you, Councillor Byrne, for bringing this. I think it is timely. People are very afraid sometimes. There are some very good contractors out there. The problem is having them. As a former care and repair officer, I'd also recommend our own care and repair thing, especially for elderly and disabled people. I've just had work done myself. Even if you're paying for your own work and you're an older person or a disabled person, it's highly useful. You actually get a surveyor there who not recommends, but it enables you to get work looked at. And unfortunately, the problem with all sorts of work is let the buyer beware. It's the principle that unfortunately we have to look at, and there's a lot of people out there. I suspect that prey on people, and I totally support this. But as I said in the thing of useful numbers, that us as members have to, and I suspect we get people in our surgery very worried indeed about stuff like this. So I totally support this as a motion, and bearing in mind that we do have recourse. As I said, Citizens Advice do a brilliant job, and also Care Repair. There are other agencies out there, a firm things, but and our own trading standards department, of whom I've had dealings with as well, to help people through things. So I support what you do there, Councillor Bird. Thank you very much for bringing this motion.
Councillor Lucy Williams.
Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer. You absolutely support this motion. The only thing I would like to understand a bit more understanding, the paragraph saying the Council therefore resolves to raise awareness and promote advice, absolutely right. I wonder if within this that there needs to be slightly more detail about how that would happen, because certainly there was good information about citizens' advice, but for instance, we know that citizens' advice offices are quite stretched and not always easy to get hold of, so it's a little bit more about just giving advice. It's actually making the process of sort of complaints about road traders easier for people to access. So I'm for this, but I'm wondering if there needs to be a little bit more detail about the how. Thank you.
Councillor Byrne, do you wish to have a right of reply?
No, Madam Presiding Member, I just wondered if we could have a recorded vote on this as well, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Are you suggesting an amendment, Councillor Williams?
If that is deemed appropriate, yes, because I think for this amendment to be useful, I'm agreeing with it, but I think for it to be more useful, more accessible to residents, we need to outline more details about what we're going to do to raise the awareness and promote advice.
Yeah. Councillor Anthony Hunt, do you want to come in? Sorry.
Can I suggest we have something of a report back to Council on that then, on that particular point about what we'll take forward?
You're all happy with that? Right. Do you wish to have a right of reply now, Councillor Byrne? No? Okay. Yeah. We need a show of hands for 6 other people for the recorded vote, please. We have 6 people. Thank you. Chris, will you do the honours?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. We'll start with Councillor Ashley.
For.
Councillor Byrne. For. Councillor Clarkson.
For.
Councillor Cowles.
For.
Councillor Cross.
For.
Councillor Daniels. For. Councillor Stephen Evans. For. Councillor Joanne Gordon.
For.
Councillor Carl Gordon.
For.
Councillor Nick Hawler. For. Thank you, Councillor John Hawler. For. Councillor Hunt. For. Councillor Janet Jones.
For.
Councillor Mark Jones.
For.
Councillor Peter Jones. For. Councillor Keat. For. Councillor Matthews.
For.
Councillor Morgan.
For.
Councillor O'Connell.
For.
Councillor Parish.
For.
Councillor Price.
For.
Councillor Seaborn.
For.
Councillor Simons. For. Councillor Slade.
For.
Councillor Tew. For. Councillor Claire Thomas.
For.
Councillor David Thomas. For. Councillor Jane Watkins.
For.
Councillor David Williams. For. Councillor Lucy Williams.
For.
That's unanimous, Chair, with 30 votes.
Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 15, the members' question time. There are 5 questions for today's council. And the first one is Councillor Janet Jones.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and apologies for previous problems with my microphone. Over the years, we've seen an increase in popularity of leisure activities within our World Heritage Site. This has led to concerns about the preservation of biodiversity on our doorstep. In particular, the amount of off-roading along our mountainside, swimming and general gatherings at the Keeper's Pond. Coupled with this, we now have large amounts of fly tipping, which is detracting from our beautiful landscape. Under the 1972 Heritage Convention, and as lead of our World Heritage Partnership, this authority has a duty to manage and protect our areas of outstanding universal value. Therefore, I ask, do we have a budget to achieve this? And if not, why not?
Councillor Hunt will be taking the questions.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'd like to answer this question on behalf of Councillor Owen. We welcome the fact that people enjoy the beautiful surroundings of our heritage town, including the magnificent views and surroundings at Keeper's Pond. We do, however, recognise the tensions this exacerbates with the wish to protect the beauty of landscape and keep animals and people working on the common land safe. The Council is aware of a range of concerns about the area around Keeper's Pond, including about the impact of fly tipping and littering and the illegal use of off-road bikes across the common land. The pond itself falls within the administrative boundary of Monmouthshire County Council. In view of this, I'll be happy to make a renewed joint approach to relevant Monmouthshire members' officers and to Gwent Police to look at what more we can do together alongside the Commons and other interested groups to address the issues you raise. Monmouthshire Council is one of the World Heritage Site partners, all of whom retain responsibility for the land and assets within their ownership. Last year, someone who loves the outdoors, myself, a big thank you to considerate users of the site who take their rubbish home with them, to the Council, the police teams and common land owners, and to those who work to tackle littering and fly tipping and preserve and improve our natural landscapes across the borough.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Officer, be raising this at the Steering Committee meeting on Thursday this week, and appreciate that if we have better liaisons with Monmouth Council, it would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. You have a question too?
Indeed.
Thank you.
Could it be clarified as to how many enforcement officers operate throughout our borough, and offer an explanation as to why so many issues are not being picked up? There are many vehicles parked on yellow lines, and yet enforcement officers are seen to drive by. Dog fouling, another issue. Vehicles remaining overnight in car parks where gates are supposed to be closed. All these are concerns continually being raised by our law-abiding citizens and residents. Is it a case that we need more officers? Do they need to work split shifts? Or is it a case that we have an insufficient budget to achieve what we want?
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Anthony Hunt.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. The Council currently employs 4 full-time enforcement officers responsible for the enforcement of parking contraventions, dog fouling and littering. And both dog fouling and litter enforcement were previously undertaken by a private company, Kingdom, and before the service was brought back in-house in July 2019. The officers work an AM and PM shift between the hours of 7 AM and 3 PM, 11 AM to 7 PM, Monday to Friday. The number of officers was derived from a business model prior to the Council taking on responsibility for parking enforcement in July 2019. Since July 2019, the demands on the service have changed, and it's therefore necessary to review the service to ensure that it's fit for purpose. This review is currently ongoing, and I will ensure progress is reported back to members as soon as possible.
Thank you very much for your response. It is a concern that a lot of parking takes place after sort of 3 o'clock into 7 o'clock, and is causing a lot of issues with our locality. So I would appreciate a progress report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Question 3, Councillor Nick Haller to Councillor Peter Jones.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Diverse Minds Group within Torvine and Blanwick Gwent is proving to be a big success with staff in both local authorities. Please could the relevant executive member please outline what has been achieved by the group, and could you possibly pledge that both councils will work collectively to become more neurodivergent aware within the workplace to support each other? Thank you.
Councillor Peter Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Haller, for your question and for bringing this very positive project to the attention of members here in the Chamber. It is early days for this initiative, so I will give some detailed background for the benefit of those who have yet to hear about this group. During October, which included Autism Awareness Week, the Learning and Development team in Torvine ran an internal campaign celebrating neurodiversity in the workplace and telling the personal stories of people within the organisation who who shared their experiences. Somewhat organically, this resulted in establishing a group called Diverse Minds Torfaen. During Neurodiversity Celebration Week in March, members of the workforce again stood up to make themselves visible, and a neurodiversity awareness session was also held on Teams to develop understanding of different conditions, including autism, ADHD, dyslexia and dyspraxia, and practical strategies to create a supportive and inclusive environment. A small number of Blaen y Gwent social care staff attended the Diverse Minds Torfaen group in May, and staff from both authorities attended the National Neurodiversity Show held in Cardiff, which had a range of seminars on relevant topics like making the most of access to work funding. We haven't formally extended the group to all Blaen y Gwent council staff yet, although the organisers do have the approval from the Chief Executive to do this, and will do it very soon. Members have discussed what challenges they face at work and tools and strategies to help alleviate these challenges. For example, time management, organisation and ways to prevent being overwhelmed. The creation of a toolkit is in progress, and I understand there are plans to turn this into an online resource to assist managers in working effectively and productively with neurodivergent colleagues. The group was also interviewed as part of the recent WLGA panel assessment, and we received very positive feedback. Although they have only their fourth meeting later this week, it is clear that this group are a driven bunch who will be really positive resource, helping us to recognise and leverage the unique strengths of neurodivergent individuals. People involved have said that the group makes them feel accepted and valued. I really wish this group all the best, and I'm confident they will help us to be better and to nurture the unique talents of neurodivergent colleagues and drive creativity and innovation. Again, thank you, Councillor Haller, for highlighting and supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Peter-Jones. Your words of wisdom are very much appreciated. I share your views. I've been involved with this group since October. I've not missed a meeting. We went to Cardiff the other week. We had a really good time. And within the group right now, there is an element of goodness that's going to create better prosperity for those people that have neurodivergence issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haller. You have questions 4 and 5. Question 4, please.
This follows on from Councillor Jones's first question. It's become considerably more noticeable that there are a lot of fly tipping happening on private land within the World Heritage Site. Whilst we fully appreciate that the landowner's responsibility to remove it, in many cases this is not happening, and the amount of rubbish that continues to accrete is becoming a blight on our heritage landscape. As Torfaen are the main lead in protecting the UNESCO World Heritage Landscape for future generations, we ask that TBC puts a budget in place to resources to make the whole process easier to manage for officers to remove the illegal fly tipping once notice to remove has been given to the landowner. This does not happen within a set time. A process needs to be put in place to remove the rubbish and charge them to the full cost of recouping the expenditure to carry out this work. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Haller. Again, I'm answering this on behalf of Councillor Mandy Owen. We fully appreciate the frustrations caused by fly tipping on open private land and the blight it causes. Fly tipping anywhere is a hugely selfish and antisocial act, as well as environmental vandalism. We are always making inquiries with the legal department to ascertain our powers to take action, as you suggest, and Councillor Owen and I will work to ensure that is stepped up. Officers try to take action as quickly as we can within our powers, but we do have to take care with regard to the law and the limit of those powers.
Just a caveat on this question. Last Friday night, some rubbish was set on fire on the Coity. We had a fire brigade having to go onto the Coity to remove the fire. If this continues, then the fire brigade are going to be in actions all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, given that, I'm more than happy to involve the fire service in our discussions, because if it's an impact for them as well, then yeah, makes it even more pressing to take this forward.
Question 5, Councillor Hawler.
Whilst I fully understand that living in Blenavon with sheep surrounding our heritage site, which is normal to see them enter our town, this is quite pleasing at times. However, I am getting an increased number of calls and messages from local residents about the damage these sheep are causing to vegetation and people's gardens and public spaces. There's also concerns about sheep leaving mess in the gardens and public areas and parks and play areas, causing issues with children using these areas and the safety of the main roads. Could the council open more of an open dialogue with the landowners and commoners around Blenavon in order to achieve a better balance of welfare for the sheep that enter our town, to help those that raise these continuous concerns? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawler. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Councillor Hawler. Again, I'm answering this on behalf of Councillor Mandy Owen. Councillor Owen and I appreciate the difficulties experienced by residents as a result of sheep entering Blenavon town. You will be aware that the Council has led in the establishment of a World Heritage Site Management Board and associated implementation groups covering thematic areas, one being the Caring for Blenavon group, which you've kindly attended along with landowners and commoners. Councillor Owen and I have also joined you and Blenavon colleagues in other meetings to discuss these wider issues with interested groups, and we'd be happy to do so again. The Caring Group provides a forum for the open discussion you have suggested, bearing in mind that where sheep are able to gain access from the common over private land, the Council has no power to take any action. Such action would need to be taken by the common owners of the sheep. We will, however, continue to work alongside you with interested groups.
Thank you. Councillor Hall and myself are attending the caring meeting on the 19th, and this is again an issue I will bring up at the steering committee on Thursday of this week.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. That takes us to agenda item 16, Cabinet Decisions. From the 1st to the 4th, 2025, the Cabinet decisions start on page 107 and are for the Council to note. There were no challenges to any of the decisions. Are there any members wishing to speak on them or ask a question on those minutes? Can I ask members whether they agree with the recommendations from Cabinet then, please? Any members against that? Any abstentions? That's carried. They noted. Thank you very much. Takes us to agenda item 17, the Cabinet decisions of the 27th of the 5th, 2025. Cabinet decisions start on page 111 and are for Council to note. There were no challenges to any of the decisions. Anybody wishing to speak? Can I ask members whether they agree with those recommendations, please? Anyone against those recommendations? And any abstentions? That's agreed. Note those Cabinet minutes. That takes us to the date and time of the next meeting. For your information, members, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 22nd of July, 2025 at 10 a.m. I thank members for attending the meeting this morning, and that concludes the Council's business. Thank you. Bye.